reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network.
Where today we'll be discussing where do multiplayer and MMOs go. So first, let's have our panelists introduce themselves and say what MMOs they're currently playing.
I'm Patrick Mulhern. I am the editor-in-chief and one of the co-founders of Lorehound.com, which is MMO mobile-focused site. I am currently pretty much playing WoW, kind of teetering off on that a little. Playing Neverwinter, which is awesome. You guys should give that one a whirl. A little bit of Marvel Heroes, which is dungeon crawler, and you get to be Iron Man and stuff. And in and out of WildStar. That's probably most of my MMOs, and then some MOBAs is Smite and Here's the Storm.
Gotcha. I'm Jenesee Gray. I'm the community manager, partner relations person for City State Entertainment. We're working on Camelot Unchained. Things I played in the past. Let's see. SWOTOR, Anarchy Online. Yes. Don't clap for that, really.
What are you currently playing?
I'm currently playing Eve. I just got through tutorial, so that's not very far in there. Yeah, could be a while.
She's a hardcore gamer.
Yeah. And World of Warcraft, of course.
Nice. I'm Alex Albrecht. Thank you for the whistle. I'm currently the co-founder of ZergID.com, a social network for MMO gamers. I used to host a show called Dignation and a show called The Totally Rad Show. Woo! Thank you very much.
And Project Lore.
And Project Lore, yes. Patrick back in the day. God, right now I'm sort of teetering out of endgame WoW. Just because that's what happens to me every couple months when they put a new patch out. But I'm playing the hell out of Here's the Storm. That's like my big crack right now, as it were.
Hi, I'm Larry Everett, Columnist. My fan club over there.
Hi, Mom.
With Massively, also do a show on Gamebreaker TV called The Republic about Star Wars The Old Republic. One of the people that's in there is over there, Heather. And what am I playing? Obviously, Star Wars: The Old Republic, and I'm looking to get back into ESO. You know, once it goes does its thing.
Fake free to play.
Yeah, exactly. But I play just about every MMO, at least for an hour a week, something like that.
Oh, okay. I was like, yeah, every MMO for an hour. Like, this character builder is amazing. She's ready to go, and I'm done.
And I'm done.
That's as far as I get, anyway. I mean, that's the best part of any MMO, right?
Sometimes, yes.
All right, and I am your innkeeper this session. Meg Campbell. I'm a strategic partner manager at YouTube, so I work with gaming creators. We're in a conference room, but right now we are one big guild, the PAX South Guild. And let's pretend we're actually at a tavern. We've got our hearth going. And
by the way, we need your gold to sign.
Yeah.
There's a 10% guild tax.
Yeah, guild tax.
On every quest. Yeah.
And these guys are just the loudest that we can all hear. So,
Agreed.
Yeah. All right, so we started to kind of get into it, but what has been kind of the history of your MMO experiences, especially relating to community?
Let's see, are we just going to go down the line?
Whoever speaks first.
All right, we're the loudest?
Yeah.
I've been playing MMOs for quite some time. My first hardcore experience was definitely WoW. My first ever experience was making fun of my friend for playing this weird game called EverQuest.
I think that was everybody's first experience. Yeah. You had that one weird friend that was like, dude, I haven't slept in 7 days. Yeah. You're like, first off, I'm not playing that game.
We're at a LAN party, and he's playing as what we thought was like a single, because we didn't see anybody. He's just killing the same monster, and he died, and he freaked out. And this is like when Black and White was new, and we're like, play this game. It's so much cooler. You get to be like a god and stuff. And he's like, no. I need to finish this. So he didn't do anything at a LAN party except play EverQuest.
First off, I don't know if he understands what a LAN party is.
But yeah, some of the bigger community experiences definitely, obviously, from the WoW career. My biggest has to be either Ragnaros spawning for the first time, and realizing that I did not belong there in that fight, or the Gates of Encourage slideshow, which was, I'll never forget, it was so awesome. even though it was a slideshow. I mean, and the guy in our guild was the Alliance member who actually unlocked it, so that was pretty cool too.
Wow. That's epic.
Yeah, we were pretty hard. They didn't do much.
They didn't do much.
I mean, it was at the time you come home and you raid for 4 hours, and then you go to bed, wake up, go to school or work, come home, raid for 4 hours,
Yeah, exactly.
rinse and repeat. You know, wait, you're missing a day, you're out. Like you get sad for a week because you missed a day.
Jenesee?
Yeah, TKP. Wow, I totally forgot about that system.
Mine is
That one I don't
TKP.
miss.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, what MMOs have you played?
Yeah, I was talking about Anarchy Online, SWTOR, WildStar, obviously WoW. Let's see, I don't know, like most MMOs I've played, and then I tend to be like a serial MMOist, where I'll play for a while, I get to level 2040, and then be like, okay, I'm out.
So 2 hours? You played 2 hours.
I created a character and I got to the starting city. No.
You're like, this city's too big, I'm leaving.
This is too immersive. I'm
Too
out.
immersive. That shopkeeper's mean.
Or like EverQuest.
He didn't give you a
I
free
had one
sword.
person there. There was only one person in the world of EverQuest. I left.
It was very depressing.
Experiences that I can remember with MMOs. Let's see. Tournament of Champions, being the only rogue. Go stop that person. No pressure. That kind of thing. Let's see. Dead Mines. Very fun in its evolution. Yeah. Not that exciting.
No.
For me, it was exciting.
It's all exciting. It's MMOs.
Yeah. What about like level capping your first character ever? Nothing.
Killing the Lich King for the first time. I mean, I think everybody has that experience.
Yeah.
Where you're just like,
I actually skipped that experience.
really?
Yeah, it was weird. I got like, you gotta go through phases with WoW, so it's like, oh yeah, I didn't do any of that stuff, but I did like every other expansion, I do endgame stuff. So it's sort of like, I don't know why I do that. It's weird. I guess I really like the Lich King. I was like, he's cool. I'm gonna let that guy.
Yeah. No,
I got
he's
no
totally still
problems
alive.
with him.
Because you didn't kill him. He's still alive.
He's still alive.
You're the
Yeah.
only person in the game who didn't kill him, so
Yeah,
you're fine.
I'm just like, God, these fucking liches, go away. What happened? Nobody's seeing these liches? Yeah, they all killed the guy. You didn't. Yeah, for me it was Star Wars Galaxies was really the first, like, oh, this is a new 100,000 hour game experience that I have. And it was funny because it was sort of pre-Skype, and so I had one buddy, and literally, and this is maybe the nerdiest thing I've ever done in my life, I actually changed telephone providers so that I could get free phone calls with one guy that I played with. Because it was back in the day, it was back in the day when it would like cost some money to call. And it was a landline, and I had like this landline phone that had a headphone jack.
Half the people here don't know what a landline is.
Yeah. Back in my day, when you had to pay for a telephone service. No, I had this one phone, and it had a headphone jack, and I would like put my headphone on, call him on his home phone, and then we would literally just play Star Wars Galaxies for like 6-7 hours in the evening. And he had a full-time job. Casual gaming. He had a full-time job, and I had just been fired from a full-time job.
Why were you fired from this job?
Well, that's a whole other story. And it was one of those weird things where I was like, it was the first time that I really was like, I would go to bed thinking of the game. I would have dreams of playing the game in a certain way in my dreams, and I was like, this is getting fucked up. But there was something oddly awesome about it, and like I remember being on Christmas vacation at my parents' house in San Diego, and I was sitting in my bedroom. I was like, all right, I gotta go to bed, good night, and I spent an hour and a half looking on the Carboneer forums, and I wasn't a Carboneer. I was just like, maybe I should be a Carboneer. I'm going to study this for an hour and a half over Christmas before I go to bed. But that really was my first sort of experience of the sort of community. Like, one of the things that I loved about Star Wars Galaxies, one of the many things I loved, and by the way, completely flawed game, totally understand it. There's a lot of shit that's bad in the game. But one of the things that I realized, too, that I hadn't mentioned when we were sort of prepping, is they had this helper flag that you could throw on. So like if you were a person in the game and you were like, I love the game, I get that new people are coming in and they're going to be idiots because that's what happens, and I was one of those people, like I'm just going to put helper on my name, and then you run into a city where you're like, I just died from a butterfly. What am I supposed to be doing here? Like, I am way out of my element. And SWTOR did not help you in any way. Not SWTOR, Star Wars Galaxies did not help you in any way of being better at the game. It was sort of like, here's the game, good luck. And you're like,
no, then you have that droid that would follow you around and annoy the hell out of you.
I know, and you're like, come on. An astromech? What is that?
It's Star Wars Navi.
Yeah, I was like, what's going on? But that was part of the stuff that I was like, this is really cool because it's really it forces you to be social, and it was sort of pre-social networking, and there weren't, there was one website that was the forums that you could go to. But yeah, no, that was my big, and I dabbled in WoW early, but fell into Galaxies, right? I always keep saying SWTOR, I don't know why. I also played the shit out of SWTOR.
I think that's the thing about MMOs, though. It's how it completely affects your life outside of the game. For instance, if you're a raider, you probably learn how to go use the bathroom in less than 45 seconds.
Yeah.
Which is a useful tool.
Oh, yeah.
Really.
Or the appropriate time, you're like, all right, I don't need to heal this part. Like,
Nothing's happening here.
I'm wholly locked anyways. I'm
And you run back to TeamSpeak, and you're just like, no, I'm here.
I was here the whole time. What do you
You gotta go like, all right, third trash pull, I pee. Fourth trash pull, you pee. We'll be fine.
So Larry, to round that out, I mean, you did say you play every MMO for an hour, but any others you want to mention?
Well, my biggest, the one that really got me into MMOs, I mean, I played UO, way early, for a month. But the biggest one that got me into it was Star Wars Galaxies as well, and but I got into it like as a role player because I actually my background's in theater, and I loved taking on these characters and being able to sit in a tavern and talk with somebody that is a Jedi, or talking with somebody that is their character and does what their character does. Like, for instance, I mean, with Galaxies, it was really, really cool to have a tailor, and that's what they did, is they made clothes within the Star Wars Galaxy. And I played on I was on Starsider, if anybody else was on Starsider in Swig, and there was a tailor that had her shop all set up like a tailor's shop. Yeah. She would make clothes for you and have you try them on, and you would, oh, this looks good, I can go into battle like this, and it would be great. And I remember the biggest experience, though, I remember from that game was the community manager, PAX. We had this string of houses all set up that looked like an Imperial base, and we all walked around in Stormtrooper armor the whole time. And what he was able to do, we had a rival guild come and attack this base, and we talked to PAX, and we said, hey, PAX, can you make it look like this building, and this building, and this building blew up? And as we were doing it, he had alerts appear on the screen, and it had this explosion happen over in the corner and swapped out models, so it looked like this house exploded.
That's
and it was amazing.
He was alive editing the game.
Yeah,
that's right. He was.
They used to do that in
yeah.
Galaxies all the time. Like, people would show up. Like, all of a sudden, the chat would go crazy. It'd be like, Darth Vader just showed up. It was like, what? And then it was like, come on, where's the shuttle? Darth Vader's there.
7 minutes for the shuttle. Oh, yeah. Darth Vader's gone by the time.
Yeah. Literally, there was one time I actually just saw the Imperial transport thing folding up and going, and I was like, Vader! Vader! Oh, Vader! Ah.
He totally waved at me.
He saw
it.
I missed that whole
The
thing.
thing came down, and he was like, hey, I see you. Go, do stuff.
So speaking of this, Alex, I think this is some of the inspiration for your panel. If you want to talk about what it's like being in your garrison now versus Galaxies.
Yeah, I mean, that really was sort of the impetus for this whole thing. Was over the years, one of the other things that was so great about Galaxies, and Larry hit on it with the tailor is a tailor. Like, that's what that person does. There's no combat involved.
Yeah.
Like, that's your guy or girl. Is you do that. You know what I mean? There were people that were like mayors. like their job was literally be I think it was called politician or something like that.
Yeah, and how many jobs did they come out with again? Because there was an insane
I think it was like 34.
Yeah.
And that's literally all you would do.
Yeah.
That account was specifically for that. Of course, everybody that was a mayor also had a second account where they were a Jedi or something like that. But
Well, yeah. Although Jedi, I mean, that was, talk about a grind, which I never did, by the way. But yeah, no, and so I love this whole concept of like, you know, if people were like in a city to do what they did, like if you got hurt and you needed to find a doctor, you went to the medical center, like you went to the hospital, and there would be players in there that were like, hey, you hurt? And you're like, yeah!
Finally, I've been sitting here for 7 hours.
Honestly, I did level a doctor, and it is very annoying. You literally just sit there, and you're like, somebody's going to come through the door any minute. And then they do, and you're like, hey, welcome! I got cookies and some water. Sit down, you look tired.
OJ too, we know you lost a lot of blood.
But yeah, and then as games sort of progressed, and I think as sort of our own sort of attention spans kind of got a little bit shorter, mine indefinitely. You know, I just started kind of feeling like, am I playing? Like I started feeling like I don't feel like I'm playing an MMO anymore. I feel like I'm playing a co-op game with my friends that other people happen to be in, but I don't care who they are. I'm not there's no reason for me to interact with them. And then when the Garrison thing came out, which is, I don't know if you're not playing WoW. WoW came out with basically this sort of like home base, like your own home base.
They finally came up with player housing.
It's
it's a little, there's no customization.
They call it player housing, and I find that horribly offensive. As a mayor of the town. But so, and the whole concept is that it seemed cool on paper, and there is some cool stuff to it, but essentially you have your own phased castle, and everybody on the Alliance goes to the exact same space in the world that is phased to them and what they do. And I was in my garrison, and I did some stuff, and I was sitting around, and I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do? Like, this is an MMO. There's millions of people playing this game, and they want me to sit in a place that nobody can come and sort of just, like, push things?
Because you don't need your professions anymore, because everything's in the garrison if you want it to be. And so even the ones you had, now you don't need like anyone. So I don't need to ask you for alchemy ingredients because I can just get my own now.
Yeah,
and
anybody
really,
can just
pick
pick bushes.
To leave.
No.
Like you don't need to leave your little base, and that's what's worse. So it's odd because to me it's juxtaposed with the world of Draenor is actually more interactable than anything except maybe vanilla. Because obviously in vanilla they took a lot of stuff out because of like farming and stuff like that, and now they've added it back because it's all like instantiated to you or that character. But you can like run around and just randomly find some old piece of loot that ends up being a blue, right? Which is pretty solid. But again, you don't really need to go in the world because everything's coming from the garrison, and you know.
Yeah, it's very weird because they did so many cool things in Draenor that I mean, me and my buddies when we were playing, it was just like, are you kidding? Like there was like this boat, this like little boat in the water, and my buddy was like, let's check out that boat. And I was like, what? Why would we check out that boat? Like it's just you know, it's garnish. It's the, you know, cilantro on the guacamole. You're gonna push it to the side because it's just to the side.
It goes in the guacamole.
Nah, not my guacamole.
Your guacamole sucks.
My guacamole is so anti-cilantro. But we like went over there. And he was like, oh yeah, it's just a boat. And as he was leaving, I was like, wait, I can click on this note on the boat. And I clicked, and it was like something about treasure somewhere. And I was like, wait a minute. So then we just started going and following these buoys out. And then there was a note on the last buoy that was like, I hid it. Nobody will find it down here on the bottom of the ocean.
Except for I left all these fucking notes.
I know. Nobody will find it after reading all these notes to myself.
Well, you know what? That brings up a point, though. Is everything too spoon-fed to people now? I mean, you think about it. I mean, because you had all those notes leading up to that point. I mean, it used to be that you would find this one thing over in this one corner that had no map unless you went to the internet and searched it out. And is everything too spoon-fed now for socialization? Is it, I don't need to go out and socialize with anybody because everything is handed to me now?
I think that's a very good point. Like, I remember like Zelda being like, I don't know how to get through this stupid forest. And
and then go into like recess and be like, man, did you figure it out yet? It's like, yeah, it's up, left, down, you know, it's like whatever.
Going to recess. I was like, what website is he talking about? I was like, recess.com.
I've never heard of that one.
All right.
It's a little corner of 4chan called recess.
All right, I'm not going there.
Well, I think that's part of it is leveling and grouping as well. You know, if leveling is really difficult and you need more than one person to complete something, then you're going to, you know, get that group together. And especially if group finding is hard, you're going to begin to invest in the people in your group because you want them to like you.
Yeah,
right?
you want them to stay.
You want them to stay.
Don't leave me.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, as mechanics involved in games too, then some of that has changed, and you know, you can do most of your content solo. So why would you bother talking to a real person when I've got my minions and I love them so much?
But that actually leads to the counter side to that, though, is when you get things too hard. WildStar, for instance, and where you have to group up in order to complete your attunement and what, and it's just. You know, where's the line there? Where's that line that says, okay, this is too much, and this is too little? You know, WoW with your garrisons maybe too little, the attunement in WildStars maybe too much. What's the in between there? That's
yeah.
the question.
And the good news is I think people are really experimenting. Like a great example is WoW with pandas. You know, it was very
Really complicated.
yeah. Pandas. This thing. Is that on? But they got a lot of criticism for being too sort of cute and fuzzy, you know what I mean, and like not very dark. And so they were like, okay, well then we'll go really dark with Warlords of Draenor, which I'm trying to remember if I actually think that they did that. Like I'm just trying to remember the leveling process. Like, did I feel like it was dark?
I didn't feel that it was.
I mean,
There's just a lot of lore.
yeah, there's a lot of lore, but they also did a lot of things right, awesome. And they did a lot of cool things. But again, it goes back to Larry's point. It's like the treasures in the world are awesome, but then you can get a buff that shows you where they are. It's like, well, okay, I mean, all right. And let's not even talk about the Timeless Isle. That was the worst fucking. that made me just go, I'm done with this one.
Well, on the note of tools, I mean, I feel like 3 or 4 years ago, we were downloading constant add-ons for WoW to get all these tools. Then they bring those into the game, and then it's somehow less of a grind. So, I mean, what would you rather see MMOs maker do with these tools to maybe build a better community? And Jenesee, I don't know if you want to speak of maybe some of the things you're doing with Camelot.
Sure. I think you were talking about, the title of the panel is Taverns. We have inns as well in the game. The entire economy and the housing and crafting is all player-based. It's an RVR-based game. So it's an open world. You're going to be fighting, other players, and that's going to give you a sense of socialization right there, whether it's negative or positive. Yeah, and if you have to go to a crafter, we don't have auction houses. So if you have to go to a crafter and say, I want a sword, I want this, I want that, and specifically ask for that, you're going to obviously have some sort of goodwill building, hopefully, so you can come back and have return customers and things of that nature. So I think there are ways that you can implement some of these social things into gaming now without perhaps having to change your mechanics terribly to make it so that if you're a casual player and you come in for an hour, you're just like, I just created a character.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you guys aren't doing auction houses, because when I was thinking about this panel and starting to really get my brain around, okay, garrison's bad. Like what? Okay, right. Let's see, figure it all out. And then I was talking to a buddy of mine, and I was like, the auction house in and of itself took an entire, I don't care who made the armor I'm wearing. Yeah. I don't care who made the potion I drank, as long as it's the cheapest. You know what I mean?
It's not like anyone could be better, right?
Right.
There's no you randomly got in a lot of games, there's not you randomly made a purple version.
Yeah, right. It's like, you made 12 instead of 11. Man. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm so good at alchemy. But it's true. And I was thinking about that. I was like, God, if there wasn't an auction house and I wanted to buy something, you would have to literally go find somebody who did that thing and go, hey, I want to buy that. Let's negotiate a price that seems cool. You know what I mean? And it reminds me a lot of Star Wars Galaxies, where there were actually quality differentials. Yeah. So buffs and stuff, doctors would give you buffs, and you would go and they would tell you how good they were, and sometimes they weren't that good, but they were cheap. And you were like, well, all right, I don't have much money, I'll take the crappy one. You know what I mean? But there was some sort of, it was cool because, and people got really, like I remember somebody stopped me once, because they did have vendors and stuff, so it wasn't like, I mean, you could, just go and buy armor from somebody that somebody made. And I remember this guy stopped me once in the game and was like, I made that! And I was like, what? Because it says on your, like if you inspect it, it actually says made by and the character name of the person that made the actual armor. And he was like, I made that. And I was like, dude, I bought this. He literally had like 5 minutes like, oh my god, okay, cool.
I like this fight where it was really great and it helped me.
Yeah, I was like, dude, look, this thing, I got hit by a crate dragon, but it was cool because I had this, you. We like slash cheers, slash high five, slash high five.
So it's a whole conversation through emotes.
It literally was. I spend most of my life emoting. That's pretty like me and my wife, I'm like, slash happy.
So what would you guys want to see with the tools, though, to maybe harken back to what you really liked about Galaxy, or is it more game mechanics you want to see introduced back into MMOs?
So on the point of the auction house, I think that's kind of our fault as players.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's something we always demand. Like, oh, I want to do something with the old loot. I don't want to just vendor trash it, Like, my buddy over here could use it. Oh, but, he doesn't need it anymore. So I think it's kind of... That's got to annoy designers in those respects, where we're like, we want this, and then we don't ever actually want it.
Yeah.
I think there's always some sort of middle ground when it comes to the economy of the game, when dealing with vendors and creating crafting and that kind of thing, and selling your wares. Is you get one extreme where you have the auction house, like in EVE or in Guild Wars 2, where you beat this one guy by a credit. And that's the guy that gets your thing. Yeah. But then you have the other extreme, like Elder Scrolls Online, where there isn't any vendors or anything like that, and there's no way to sell your wares, or no real way to sell your wares. And so I think there is a middle ground there, and gosh, I hate bringing up Star Wars Galaxies again. Star Wars Galaxies
again, guys. It's not that great of a game. I'm just.
But there was actually a middle ground where the auction house didn't sell you the item; it told you where to find it.
Yeah.
Sold you information.
So basically, what it
you could sort of like pre-sell it or pre-buy it from another vendor.
Yeah. Well, you could look
pick it up.
You could look at it and go, okay, well, this vendor is on this planet, and that's way too far away for me to go. But I can go to this one right here. It's a little bit more expensive, and he's right next door.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of that going around, or maybe this thing was better than the one that was really far out was better than the one that was close, and that kind of thing. So there is a middle ground there, and I think that helps. That's one of the tools that I would like to see, is maybe some sort of middle ground that's not the auction house where you're fighting over one copper or one credit or whatever.
Yeah. The other thing that's real hard for me is I love the concepts of worlds feeling like they exist without you. You know what I mean? Like, and World of Warcraft has that a little bit. It was one of my biggest gripes with anything BioWare. I loved SWTOR, played the hell out of it. But I never felt like I was on a planet. I felt like I was in, like, a column that was dressed like a planet, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas even with Star Wars Galaxies, even though the planets were limited, you could literally run to the end of it and you're standing at a wall, they were so massive that it felt like this is an entire planet that exists. And why they didn't just wrap it around so you just end up on the other side of the map, I don't know. It seems not that difficult, as I say, as clearly a programmer.
10 years
The world is
experience.
flat, yeah. It's like, what's going on here, Magellan? But so I think having those places that feel alive, and also places that you have to go to do a thing like that. It's almost to me that simple. Like, every city has the same auction house. It's like, okay, well then I'm just going to go to the closest one, or the one where my Hearthstone is set to. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But if it was like,
or the one that's on your ship,
or the one that's on my ship, yeah, or in my garrison, which you can totally get, and then it's like, really?
You don't even need to switch to your AH alt or anything. You just sit in your garrison.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, that's the other thing that really annoys me about the garrison things, and then we'll get off the garrison. There's some nice things. They're pretty. is that...
But they all look the same.
I know,
so
but
it's not like-
so all the followers, right? You like spend all this time leveling all these followers, and then you're like, okay, well, I'm going to get on my other character. Oh,
Shit.
wait, I have to level all of that guy's followers. It's like, I'm not.
And then I quit. Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
So Larry or Patrick, have you guys written about this, and has it ever been picked up by any of the gaming publishers that have reached out to you to say, what can we do better, or do you wish that that would happen?
Yeah, I mean, I did write about it, and I live streamed about it. Pretty much the conversation we just had about garrisons is I was sitting there waiting, because I was sitting there, queued, waiting for raids, sitting in my garrison, being like, well, I don't need to go anywhere because all my shit's here.
Live streaming about how it sucked.
Yeah, pretty much. I was sitting there being. Have you heard this? Like a thing where gamers are like cynical and entitled. That's what I was doing.
What?
Yeah.
Video game players?
But so I don't think anyone's really picked up on it. I think it's partially because it's really got to be your game, and WoW at this point has just kind of become such this huge behemoth that it's doing everything at once. So it offers the hardcore for the hardcore raiders. You could do the mythic things and stuff like that. But I mean, I pretty much don't know. I think I know one guy who does, and this is from knowing like super hardcore raiders from vanilla. I think one of them still really does the hardcore stuff. I pretty much did the looking for raid Highmall and was like, all right, that was done. That was cool. So I think you got to find your niche if you want to be a game that way. But if you're the size of WoW, you can't.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So to me, that's what it is.
Do you think it's proximity to other avatars? Because you remember, you're waiting at your garrison, right? But that's how you used to meet people. You're at a meeting stone, you're waiting, and there's something to do, and there's people there, and you talk to them, and you get to be friends, and everyone gets naked, all of that.
Classic. A typical Friday night.
Right, exactly. But, what you're talking about waiting, is it because you're by yourself in your garrison that's the issue, or do you think it's because if you had other people accessible, would it be more of a social fostering kind of idea?
I definitely think because I can sit there by myself, but I guess that's even part of the raid finder problem, right? Like now I just randomly group with random people, and
if you say hi, you're a noob.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like, hey guys, like shut up, start healing.
We have no courtesy. There's no courtesy in Dungeon Finder.
Yeah.
Well, when you sit around the PvP terminal or whatever, and I don't know. I don't necessarily know that having other people around is the answer to the question. I mean, I think that I honestly think that one of the biggest ways to get people to interact with each other is good guild tools, and is being able to communicate in some sort of fashion within your guild that a game helps facilitate some things to get people to interact, and like calendars and things like that and guild messages that aren't just a pop-up whenever you log in, and those kinds of things would be helpful. I don't necessarily know that that's the answer to the question, but it's definitely something that would help the socialization of the game.
Yeah, we were talking about it too beforehand about the fact that, and I hadn't really put two and two together, but the fact that the guild XP buff, which I think they took out. I feel like they took that out because I kept being like, I don't feel like I'm getting more XP than I usually am. Anyway, but when they did the guild XP buff, where if you were in a certain level of a guild, you would get this consistent XP out in the world, it just lended itself for me joining guilds that I didn't give any crap about. I was literally like, I log into the game on my new alt.
Guild invites, accept.
Yeah, I was just like, that's cool, level 25 guild, accept. Flame butts? I'm a flame butt. I will fly that flag with honor. And then I just never talk to anybody in the guild. I never interact whatsoever because I literally just want to be in the guild. And it's things like that make you go, well, you're really devaluing what a guild is. Like the whole concept of it, like only going back to Star Wars Galaxies one more time.
I'm done with this.
And by the way, that's probably a total lie. Yeah. But like with Star Wars Galaxies, you almost couldn't play the game. Like it was difficult to play the game without being in a guild because.
But I mean that's the way. And that's not just Galaxies, but with any of them. I mean, UO was the same way.
Yeah.
You couldn't play that game without a guild, or at least not well.
So
or ICQ.
Yeah.
What game out now do we like as far as the guild and the socialization? Are we playing it? And does anyone have even an example where they're big fans?
Well, Eve.
Yeah, I hear that, and that's going to the complete hardcore where it's basically a free market.
Yeah, no, Eve, and I played Eve. I played a lot of Eve. It definitely scratched that itch of you're not going to know what the hell's happening. Because I logged in and I was like, what the hell's happening? And then you start to get into that like, oh, all right, okay, I think I understand what's happening. And then you feel really cool until you realize you still don't understand what's happening.
You just scratch that.
You just scratch, but it's great because it's this whole like little carrot and stick where you're like, and now I know what this game is about. Oh my god, I don't know what this game is about anymore. Oh, but now I know what this game is about. Oh my god, I still don't know anything that's happening. My biggest problem with Eve, I mean, I know it's not a general MMO conversation, but my biggest problem with Eve is the auto leveling, the leveling that happens, the scheduled leveling, because it just makes me sort of not know. Like I'll go, I want to have that type of missile, and then it's like, okay, so in 3 days I'll come back and I'll have that type of missile
without doing anything.
Without doing anything, and I mean, I have to babysit it, so like I'll log in and make sure I, start the next one, and then I log out, and then I come back and start the next one. And then I try it, and I'm like, yeah, I don't like those missiles. And I'm like, well, that was 3 days of, in most games, you're like, I shoot the missile, it doesn't do very well, but at least I can go, was that satisfying? Should I keep shooting the missile? But I think Eve...
became very poetic with a missile.
Yeah, that's going to be my new t-shirt. Should I keep shooting the missile?
And it'll just be like this?
Yeah.
So is it the game or is it the community that you might still have that you can go and enjoy with these? To your question, Patrick, like what do we like that you're playing right now?
I think partly why I still get drawn to WoW is a lot of us are former hardcore raiders that have either moved on in life or whatever. We can't really do it anymore, but we still have the mindset. So when we go to raid, we're like all in, and we know we can you got that trust, and we know what people are going to do. So that's partly what keeps drawing me back and into the where we tend to call it like casually hardcore, because we are fully dedicated when we're there, but we're only kind of there like 4 hours a week, So, yeah. But we're there. But for other games, I think Neverwinter, and I mentioned that's one I'm playing a lot right now. It definitely harkens back to the pre-looking for raid for the most part in WoW, because, and this is the sucky part of the pre-looking for raid, is it's really hard to get in a dungeon group, right? Yeah. So I just was streaming and we're sitting there, and then I'm like, someone's like looking for group. Who wants to do this dungeon? I was like, hey, I don't want to do that dungeon. And so we ended up really getting a group super fast, but then, hey, I made a friend out of that. We friended that guy instantly. He's like, nice healing. Or I was like, nice healing. He's like, great damage. Friends. Right? We're best friends now. Best friends.
I love it.
Slash cheers. Slash high five.
Slash high five. Slash happy.
Yeah, so Alex, speaking of just like the communities, that was something I was excited about your ZergID that you put together was... I've played with you and a bunch of like similar friends, and sometimes we go to new MMOs, and that's why I want to play. Like I have enough console games I can play by myself, but if I'm playing an MMO, I want to chat, I want to interact, I want to scream when crazy things happen. So is that some of what helped you with ZergID and get that going?
Yeah, we ZergID really came out of a frustration of having friends that I enjoyed interacting with in game, and accidentally became Facebook friends with them and found out that like they loved soccer, which I don't. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't want all this interaction about your daily life. Like I want to know, are we playing tonight? Let's go. And like we would always find this thing where it was like, okay, we're just about to go on a raid, but our tank is not here. And does anybody know who that person is in real life? Can you text them? And everybody's like, no, I don't know that person in real life. And and I have too many people. I don't want to have everybody have need cell phones. So the other thing for us that was a real frustration was that, MMO is a very sort of transient population, right? So like anytime a new MMO is out, everybody goes, I gotta try this. And then they go and they play, and they're like, who?
And then they're like, oh, it's Star Wars Galaxy. That shit's terrible.
But watch yourself. But no, so it was hard, it's hard to sort of follow your friends unless you're really diligent about it, where you're going, what server faction. So we were like, well, why don't we set up a site that allows people to sort of have characters from every MMO they've ever played in server factions, all that stuff, so that you can find people that you played UO with or something like that.
Because you have the old ones too.
Right, yeah, even the ones that don't exist anymore, like Star Wars Galaxies.
Tabula Rasa.
Tabula Rasa, we do have that.
I have the collector's edition. The one guy.
The one guy. I know, some guy who made it in the back is like, hey.
He woke up back there.
Yeah. It was that guy.
That's why he
was the
came.
lead designer for Tabula Rasa.
Yeah.
Huh?
And that's so true too, because there's so many times where you're like, oh, like I really like playing with that guy, and then he just like disappears.
Yeah.
And then it's because he went to a different game or whatever. But now if you have something like that, that's a pretty cool too. We kind of started using Steam in that way, where we would just like, what do you on Steam? Because you're a PC gamer if you're playing an MMO, almost certainly.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like everyone's got Steam then, right?
Yeah, but not all games have. I mean, this is the big issue: is not all games are on Steam. So it's like,
well, it was just like here's my handle on Steam.
Oh, I got it. So you would communicate via Steam.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it was like our out of whatever MMO kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's funny because people ask me all the time, like, well, why wouldn't Blizzard just make that tool to communicate outside the game? And I was like, because they don't want you communicating with people playing Star Wars The Old Republic. Yeah. Like, they don't care about you finding that person. They actually actively want you to not find that person.
That's exactly my experience, because, I'll play a game, I'll get to be good friends with people, I'll have a guild and stuff like that, and we have all these social things that we can use now. We have Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, Line, all that. And at that point, you can communicate with them outside the game, and then you just stop playing the game. You're like, oh, well, I know these people, and we're hanging out, so I
You actually go out to the bar or something?
Outside?
Outside the world? What? A tavern?
Speaking of outside, if you guys have questions, feel free to come up.
Go up to the mic.
Oh, we're doing a QA part. Apparently.
Yeah.
Nobody has questions.
Nobody cares.
All right, we got one.
We have
Two.
a few, we have a few.
Somebody broke the seal.
Oh, you broke the seal. There you go.
Let's see.
Are we on?
There.
Yep.
Oh, now we're
That
on.
mic.
The EverQuest player, I'm willing to get up here and sacrifice myself.
Nice.
You were touching a minute ago about the ease of getting things, and I want to kind of touch upon that when it comes to raiding. Being an EverQuest and then a WoW player, I watched raiding go from 2 or 3 raids at once in Plane of Fear and EverQuest, and dying and spending 8 hours trying to recover corpses, to now I can just pug and get in a queue and nobody talks. And how do you think that's impacted the community and the ease of looking for group and smaller raiding versus big raiding?
Well, I think it's been. I think I think it's in one respect a positive thing, because it allows the people to go, hey, that guy's got purple shoulders. I want purple shoulders, and now I can go get them. But I think it's negatively impacted because there's sort of no goals left in the game. Like, I want to get slightly better purple shoulders, so that gap is so big. You know what I mean? Like the LFR. Like LFR, really, they should just hand you purples. Like, you should just sit in a queue for half an hour and then you just get a purple. Like, that should be LFR. It's that easy.
Sure, that's how it happens.
We haven't wiped yet.
Yeah. Oh no,
I haven't wiped it. And I even did MC.
Yeah.
Looking for raid.
Me too. It was the slappiest fest ever, and we just got, and it was done.
Yeah, and we just got the 640 head item, or whatever it was. But it's definitely that thing where it adds accessibility.
Yeah.
But then takes away from kind of the achievement. Yeah. And I remember when I was hardcore raiding, we had a party once, and I randomly met a guy on my server at my party. Like, we had a guild party at my house. And he was like a friend of a friend who came to this party. Yeah, I was that nerd. And he was on my server. And he was like, dude, you guys are ATR. And he was like so excited because we had brought him on one of our raids once. He was in like one of the... And he got his first epic on our raid. Yeah. And he was just like thrilled. And he's like, I haven't been on a raid since, but that was awesome, right? Like, he loved it. Yeah. It was very cool.
I think it's impacted, are we still talking about that question? I think it's impacted guilds more, for me at least, because there are times where you need those people to come with you and help you to get through a certain raid, or you need to work together, and you have your raid team, you meet every day, at 4 o'clock or whatever, and you raid, and then you need that certain item, and now, things appear in your bag randomly, and it's specific to you. I remember going through the old Zul'Gurub to the Panther boss and losing a roll on a dagger to a hunter because it had stamina. And that still angers me.
Hunters! Why do they roll on daggers?
Yes, because and so that particular item means something to you, so you're going to work together with your
Did you at least get a bow? Just to like...
No. My rogue had Prince's bow, a little fire bow from Karazhan, and I used to take it out. I would just like sit
just to
and
be
then
there.
Go. Whenever a hunter would walk by, I'd just go.
So we had DK.
They were like, what do you have that bow for?
So that was what I was saving for. But
Nice.
anyway.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Next. What's your question?
Hi. I like how in certain games you have certain things that you can only get from certain players. Like, for example, in Shroud of the Avatar, there are certain gestures that you can only get by having other players teach them to you. And so that kind of encourages you to socialize and things like that. I was wondering, I think most MMOs that we play, they have a lot of things in common. Like, we talk about raids a lot, and those games kind of have that sort of looking for group sort of mechanic. But I think every individual game has something that's very unique that's specific to it. And I was wondering if you had any sort of things you wanted to talk about specific to any particular type of game or any particular game that you've played that you felt played a really nice role in creating good social dynamics between people.
I'm going to go tabula rasa. So I'll set the stage.
I love that could have either been a joke or you're honest about it.
I'm honest. We've had enough Star Wars.
That was amazing.
So in that game, where like you were saying, you would learn a gesture from another player. You actually learned other spells, and it was so long ago and only up for so short. I don't even remember all the details. But you had to run around the world to find either spells or like runes that did something. So what? Oh, okay, yeah, that was. I don't even know what you said, but sure. Logos, yes. And I don't. What do they do? I don't remember what they did.
He was like, yeah, that's what you guys said.
Yeah.
I didn't hear it, but that.
I thought he said locusts, and I was like, no. And I was trying to like the hamster was going like, what contextually would that mean? But yeah, so you had to run around and find them, and there was a bunch of them. So it was kind of like, hey, you have that one. Where the hell is it? Yeah. And it was an exploration thing. You could go find everything on your own, or just ask somebody.
Yeah.
Well, EverQuest actually had where you would learn Latin languages and things along that line from other players, and that's just, I mean, that was another thing that was really cool. And I think more games should incorporate that.
Well,
dang it, Star Wars Galaxy.
I was just about to bring it up. That's all right. I know what you're going to say, and I was going to bring it up.
But you would be able to not only just go to a trainer, but you would be able to train from another player, and that's a really. You don't find that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, and talk about how cool that feels to be like a master whatever, and somebody come running up and go, oh, hey, I just got enough XP from all those butterflies. Can you train me like level 1 gun shooting? And you're like, yes, I will. Boing! I mean, how badass is that?
Just like just knights you right
yeah,
there.
You're like, you now are level 2 pistolier.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Go amongst the world.
Go, kill more butterflies.
But what if he goes the other way and he's like, no, fuck you.
Yeah. He just shoots you. He's like, thanks, man. Bang.
That's actually I've had that kind of thing happen before, where somebody said, no, you're part of this guild or whatever. And
yeah.
Which is perfectly legitimate as far as I'm concerned in an MMO. Don't train them.
I love it.
Invested, that's good.
Yeah. I only want good people using my skills.
Right, yeah, you gotta earn this.
Yeah.
Show me how many butterflies you can kill in a minute.
Yeah. / dance for me, monkey.
Here's some money. Tip. Also, we're also like, why are we talking about that nobody wants to talk to anymore? It's because of this shit. That's why there's no social.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm doing really well. We mentioned earlier, the third gentleman from the right was talking about how he had to switch to his different phone company to talk with his friend.
Yes.
And I've been playing video games. I've been playing MMOs for over 10 years. I've been playing Ragnarok Online for 10 years. I'm not still quite sure if I'm proud of that or not. But, yeah. I've noticed that there's, in this day and age, with a lot of new competitive games coming out, be it League of Legends, Counter-Strike, Dota 2, all these fast-paced, highly communicative games, it's been very important for gamers, especially PC gamers, to have vocal communication VoIP programs, be it Skype, TeamSpeak, Mumble, Raid Call. Am I missing any?
Ventrilo.
No,
I think one, a classic. would you say, because you've also, when coming to MMOs, sure you have your elements of it that are fast-paced and competitive, you know, you have your PvP, you have your raids, but when you join a guild, let's say you don't know anybody in that guild, right? And all you see on the guild message of the day is join our Ventrilo or join our TeamSpeak, and you have no other communication with people in the guild. Would you say that the rise of VoIP is causing a kind of a schism between the new players and the more experienced people? Because if you go into VoIP, you go into that Skype or that TeamSpeak group, you see that all the people are playing, you get to meet with people, you get to take those people to other games because they have different channels. Whereas if you don't ever take that step and go into the room, you're in a ghost town, basically. It's you by yourself, you don't know what's going on, you don't know who's on.
So actually on that, like I find it goes a little bit both ways, where sometimes guild chat is empty or Mumble's empty. So, but what do you guys think?
Yeah, it is very frustrating to me because I'm not a huge fan of just casual hangout VoIPs. You know what I mean? Like, I'll hop on Mumble if we're doing a raid and be there and laugh and scratch, have a good time. But I'm not gonna, like, if I'm just leveling, I don't want to just be hanging in a chat. You know what I mean? But it is frustrating when, like, especially like we'll have one guy. This happened in SWOTOR. We had one guy who would hang out in Mumble, and he wouldn't have. He had a kid or something. He couldn't talk, but he would type into guild chat, right? So I'm out playing by myself, and all of a sudden it's like, laugh out loud in guild chat. No, really? And I'm like, what? And it's because this whole conversation's happening in Mumble.
You're getting half of the conversation.
And I'm just getting this one guy's response to all of the things.
So it's advertising.
It is. To be honest, it did make me kind of like, and then I would be like, what are they saying? What are you guys talking about me? What are you guys talking about? I'm online as well, guys. I'm just not in the thingy. So I think it does. It's a little like it can be good because it can bring people in. Like if you join a guild and they have a Ventrilo and you get on, you can actually have more deep conversations or more sort of hangout time to get to know these people. But it can sort of lead to this like, I don't want to make that jump yet. I got to get to know them first. You know?
A lot of people have seen that like alienate them almost. Like they, for whatever reason, they didn't want to do it. They thought it was like I had a lot of people who were like, it's too nerdy. You're playing a PC game, like what are you
crossed that
You're
line.
already nerdy. Yeah. There's no like level. Like, oh, I'm only level 2 nerdy. That's level 3. I don't go level 3 nerdy.
D&D 4.
Yeah. And people got alienated, and they wouldn't. And then it was like, oh, then it became required, right? Because you wiped us because you weren't listening.
Yeah.
And it was weird, finicky, but most people did just do it and then would just kind of lurk.
Yeah.
I found.
It used to be in my guild that we would require people be in Mumble because we did a lot of raiding, did a lot of dungeon crawling, that kind of thing that required the instant communication. And it became a social hangout as well. But I found that we actually enjoyed each other's company better when we weren't talking with each other all the time. Seriously, it was better. Like, okay,
like they're nice when they're not talking.
Exactly. Yeah, I think a part of it is that we have to think. You have to think more when you're typing.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit longer for most people to type than to talk, and I think that's part of it. Is that you have to think about it now.
They had to come up with a fleshed out thought before they started mouth dumping.
See, I don't like that because when I'm on Vent, I'm actually playing and I ask people, things about quests like SWOTOR or whatever. Where's this? But if I'm having to type at the same time I'm playing, I'm doing that thing where I'm like, 1145, in the chat, which is no good. So
You just blame it on your cat then.
Okay, like cat
ran across the keyboard every 5 seconds.
Yeah,
See, it's
a very active cat.
For those people that don't get on Vent, though, I've had years where I'll be in a guild and I've never heard someone's voice, and then they get on Vent the first time, and you get to know them a little bit, and you can hear. I had a guy that actually ended up dating, funny enough, who I thought was a girl because he was a pink-haired gnome in WoW for a year, and we were friends. I didn't even realize that he was a guy.
Yeah. It's usually the case.
It's usually how that is.
I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there.
Let's get one more question in.
That's always the guy.
Hit us.
So one thing I'm hearing is that there seems to be kind of a duality here, where you either have compulsory community stuff or you have a desire for community stuff. Do you think that games like, say, Rust or Space Engineers or sort of the neo MMOs of that ilk can kind of benefit the new age of MMOs in general, in that there is the balance between, well, you're not going to be able to do as well if you're not part of a community, but there are also perks to being in a community. You think that could marry these two concepts?
Well, I definitely like the idea of having. I mean, I know this is very difficult to do, but I like the idea of rewarding people for being social, but also not penalizing people for not being social. Because that's really the balance that you got to strike. You know, it's like, I like that it sort of goes, hey, if you want to be the best at this, then you need to be interacting with these people in a very social way. However, if you're okay just being fairly good at this, you can still get away with it. Because I also don't want to, you know, sit up here and say like, oh, well, all MMO, like WoW is bad because it doesn't have all these things. It's still a good game. It's just, I think there's a lament of, it feels like it's lost the M in the MMO. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels like MMO now, especially with some of these, like, you know, like Destiny is a great example where it's like, everybody's like, oh, it's a console MMO, and I pick up the thing and I'm like, no, it's a co-op game like Global Agenda with other people running around. That does not mean just because it's massive, theoretically, you know what I mean? Like, and then it goes to the thing of, well, what is my definition of an MMO versus the actual definition of an MMO? Because really an MMO is just any game, like Candy Crush is an MMO. I mean, it is. It's a massively multiplayer online game. You can play with tons of people. So it just sort of becomes this thing of like, what's that balance? And also, as we were saying, would a game like SWOT, I'm very interested in the repopulation, which has just started to come out, and they're very much like, we're going to make a game like Star Wars, in the ilk of Star Wars Galaxies. And it actually sounds like Camelot Unchained is going to be doing a lot of the same stuff, which I'm very excited about. Will those flourish? Because there are enough people that are like, I yearn for the old days of the grind is the good suck, as my friends say. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering actually how many people in this room would appreciate a game like, you know, like the Star Wars Galaxies, that where you had to wait for something. And you had to...
Everybody's very quiet. Oh, there's a hand. All right, so 4. Okay. All
right.
Good answer. Thanks for coming.
Who can make a game
I'm feeling a little nervous.
4 people would be proud.
But the thing is, though, and here's the big thing that developers, I think, would have to think about, is that you're going to be sacrificing people to make a game like that.
Yeah.
You're not going to attract the numbers that WoW has.
Well, but then again, you think about it, it's like independent film. You know what I mean? Like there are movies that get made that make $10 million. I know it's like Cry Me a River, but that make $10 million, and then you have, you know, like Battlefield 4, which is going to come out, and then the new, you know, Battlefield 5 is going to make $70 billion. Like that's just going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's like, the problem is, can you convince a developer to chase the slightly profitable, really niche cult game versus I want to just make the next Candy Crush and start making $1.5 million every second.
Money.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Yes, it's happening. I'm excited.
And I think it comes to the passion at that point.
Yeah.
Like they just really are behind that. And I don't remember who it was, but one of the big designers was just like, I just make games I want to play.
Yeah.
Right? And he's like, I figure other people will like it.
Yeah. It's probably Tim Schafer or something.
Yeah, that's
like
what I
that.
was thinking.
Double Fine.
That sounds like it.
That sounds like
It sounds just like it.
He seems cool.
But I mean, you do see it working. You do see the niche working. I mean, Chris Roberts, even though with Star Citizen, is pretty much, it's a niche game, really, to be fair. But he's making tons of money.
Yeah, but it's not. That one I'm still scared. It is a niche game, but it's almost like, oh wait, everyone else put money in on this? I better put money on this now. There's nothing even, like, it's so barely even available as what it was initially pitched as.
Right.
Because it's the scope creep is just like, it's the definition.
But you see that it can work. That's basically that's the thing. And a niche can work, and it can be an amazing game. And I think that if developers aren't afraid to step out into the unknown, and it's really tough, and I understand that because they got families to feed and stuff like that.
They feed themselves.
I think you'd be surprised. The community is, if you get that niche game and you get the community that supports that and really wants hardcore, like I said, positionals, reactives, like really difficult gameplay, challenging gameplay. I think those people are really, really passionate about what they want, and they're like us, the nostalgic old days.
Yeah, I think the people that
sorry, I have to cut us off because we're at time. But let's take our panelists again real quick. So Patrick Mulhern, Jenesee Gray, Alex Albrecht, and Larry Everett.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy PAX.